Hello and welcome to the Green 19 podcast. I'm Dominique Yates. I'm joined by Ryan Wood and Tom Silverstein. The Green Bay Packers have lost 3 straight games after a 41-24 beatdown from the Baltimore Ravens. Just a legendary, unreal performance by Derrick Henry, and really the Ravens kind of wasted a really strong performance from Malik Willis stepping in place from Jordan Love. And I mean, the story, and you could say a normal game would have been Willis, but it was all Derrick Henry on this night. He was the man of the hour. Just what do you make of this performance, Ryan?
Malik Willis is still a story, but he's not the story, right? Because they might have lost more than on the scoreboard tonight because of how Malik Willis played. You mentioned 3 straight losses, Dominique. They punted one time in those 3 games. It was 3 games ago at Denver. 2 straight games they have not punted and they still lost. Guys, that's really hard to do. That's really, really hard to do, and that is what this Packers defense without Micah Parsons and Devontae Wyatt have managed to do. I don't think it's a coincidence that those 3 games started with Micah Parsons' torn ACL. This is what this team is. They are a fringe playoff team without Micah Parsons. They will do nothing in the postseason without Micah Parsons. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not surprised. I was more surprised with how they played in Chicago defensively than I was tonight. This is what I expected.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Boone?
I guess I expected them to put up a little bit more of a fight against the Ravens. I thought they had the ability to bring safeties in the box, play 5-6 man front, and at least slow him down. Because some teams have been able to do that with Henry. He's been hot and he's been cold. I think what was startling was just how badly they got dominated at the line of scrimmage. I mean, it was just all game long, and they were powerless to do anything about it. Hafley did all kinds of things to try to adjust, and the Ravens, I went to their locker room, and they credited him for trying to change everything, but they just said we kept dominating them. And so I agree that they're a fringe playoff team. I would say that, they're probably the worst playoff team in the entire tournament right now, if you had to evaluate it. I mean, I don't know who would be afraid to play them.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. And I guess that would surprise me more than anything. Like you said, seeing the way they played in Chicago. We even talked about it kind of throughout the game. Granted, Derrick Henry is a different beast than DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. But throughout this season, the Packers have at least held their own in the run game. Before tonight, in this Saturday night game, Rico Dowdle was the only guy to get at least 100 rushing yards on this team. And Derrick Henry, it looked like he was about to have 300 or 350.
Could have had as many as he wanted.
He could have.
Take your number.
36 carries, 216 yards, 4 touchdowns. I was joking with our colleague Pete Doherty. I'm like, he could have had 45 carries. I wouldn't have even fought it. So I think that's the only thing that surprised me was, at least if you weren't going to be able to tackle him, at least be in position to do it. They were just out of place at times throughout this game. So that's something that really stood out to me in this game, was just we wondered what the run defense would look like without Wyatt. And Micah Parsons kind of hid some of those issues up front. But now you have a group that's not getting pressure on the quarterback with 4 and had this situation in the run defense. So, again, it's, I guess, back to the drawing board, but I think it's a little too late for that.
I don't know about you guys. On my social media feed, there was a lot of fans after the game that just wanted to drive a bus over this coaching staff. And I think that one of the great lessons from tonight is that you can be the best coach you want to be. It's a players' league. The reality is that even without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens had their superstar in Derrick Henry. This Packers defense did not. There's no amount of coaching. And to your point, Spoon, Jeff Hafley tried. There's no amount of coaching that can compensate from the unbelievable departure of top-end roster talent because of injuries for this team and specifically this defense. If you want to look at coaching, I think the most vivid example of coaching influence tonight is in Malik Willis's play. If you compare the Malik Willis that we just saw, and I get that the Ravens defense is not the Ravens defense that it's been for several years. This is a pedestrian defense. But at a certain point, 18 of 21 for 288 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 134.6 rating, 60 yards on the ground on 9 carries, 6.7 yard average, 2 touchdowns rushing. At a certain point, that's just really, really good. And if you compare how Matt LaFleur called this game to how he called it in Malik Willis' first start for the Packers, week 2 against Indianapolis, he called tonight like he had a starting quarterback. He called that week 2 game last year like he had a backup quarterback. It was a night and day stark contrast. In 2 years, Matt LaFleur's developed Malik Willis into what he is right now, which is a quarterback that's going to get a shot at being a starter next year. That's coaching. Other teams in the league are going to notice that. There's no amount of coaching that can compensate on the fly for, oh my goodness, you lost Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt, your 2 best players up front. Go out and stop Derrick Henry.
I don't know.
It sounds to me like he's a good quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
So what about a head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really
get his team ready to play. I mean, it was a short week, or not a short week, but they had a lot of.
It was shortened because of Christmas.
Yeah, but so it was the same for Baltimore, and they just didn't. They didn't come out with the idea of we're still in this race for the NFC North. We got a chance to play at home. This is the last game against the last game at home, and they didn't play like that anywhere really. I mean, Malik Willis had a really good game. Let's face it, the Baltimore Ravens defense is god awful.
Yep.
It is terrible. Packers had guys running free by 10 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the reason the Ravens are 7-8 or 8-8 now. But you have to put up a bigger fight than that, and that's part of that is on LaFleur. He's got to own that.
Yeah.
His team played like that.
How much, though? Because it's a sliding scale. Because the reality is they don't have some of their best players. But the reality is also that one team played tonight like it was a do or die, got to make it or you're eliminated from a playoff game. The other team played like, hey, 2 days ago we're eating Christmas ham, the Lions lost, and we're good for the playoffs. How much blame on that sliding scale do you give to they were flat or they don't have their best players?
Well, you can make that excuse all year long, but they played a decent game defensively against Chicago, and they were ready for that game, and they were not ready for this game. And I put that on the coaching staff. You can win with. It's hard to win without Micah Parsons, but you can win. Somehow they're not getting players that have played better this year, at times this year, to reach their peaks. Yeah. They're not. I mean, and that's coaching. I mean, I think guys should be reaching their peaks at this point of the season, and I don't see it. I still think there's things on offense that they're guilty of. I mean, I still don't see how Matthew Golden is not a factor on their offense. I don't get it.
No.
They don't throw. They haven't figured out how to really use Luke Musgrave down the field. It's really a mystery to me, and offensive line too. I think they've mismanaged some things. So
the offensive line, I'm there with you on. Let me just provide a counter perspective. Malik Willis had 3 incompletions tonight. I don't really care that Matthew Golden didn't get targeted more. The passing game was fine. They moved it up and down on this terrible Ravens defense in the passing game. So I'm not going to say, oh, they didn't get Luke Musgrave involved. 3 incompletions kind of speaks for itself.
They settled for 1 field goal, right? And they turned the ball over.
Yeah, they had a turnover on downs. Yeah, they
turnover on downs, field goal, and they had a turnover on a bad snap.
The biggest
And then
knock.
the Clayton Tune interception, like at the end of the game.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that one.
But yeah.
I don't.
The biggest knock on Matt
that.
LaFleur's handling of the offense that I can see is on the 4th and 1, YB and shotgun. I thought that was absurd. I understand on 3rd and 1, they were stuffed on a QB sneak. There's no rule in the NFL rule book that says you cannot do 2 consecutive QB sneaks. Do not go shotgun on 4th and 1. Outside of that, I don't have really much gripe with the offense tonight, which is Matt LaFleur's offense, because he had 3 incompletions. He had a 134 passer rating. That was fine. Now, where I'm at a certain point, injuries stop being excuses and become reasons. I think the reasons why this defense isn't better. I was stunned, and frankly, the Bears' offense did not play all that well either. Caleb Williams was pretty erratic in Chicago. I was stunned at how well the Packers' defense played in Chicago. I did not expect that. I don't know that I expected 41 points. I don't know that I expected 200-plus rushing yards from Derrick Henry. But this is a lot closer to the reality of the roster right now that I do expect from this defense and what happened in Chicago.
I guess the only reason why it's tough to say, at least look at that, because, yeah, there's no Micah Parsons, there's no Devontae Wyatt, but a lot of these guys played last year. Like, they've been in this system. Rashawn Gary's played a lot of football. Lucas Van Ness has played a lot of football. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard's a second-year guy now. Carrington Valentine has been here for several years. Walker, Cooper, McDuff. Like, you're talking about more guys that have played in the system compared to guys that haven't, like, that are out right now with Wyatt and Parsons. We're not taking away the fact that Parsons is a generational player, future Hall of Famer. But the fact that you can't have the rest of these guys up for this game. Like, Javon Bullard was really, really mad. He was frustrated in this performance. So I guess that's the only thing that I was confused about. Like, you still have, they talked all week in the locker room, we have everything right in front of us. We have everything right in front of us. You didn't play like it. That's what I just couldn't really wrap my head around.
Right. And what are the consequences for poor play? How long did it take them to pull Carrington Valentine?
Yeah.
He's missed his 3rd tackle, 4th tackle. I mean, he just plays soft. And at what point do you just not put up with that anymore? And that's the head coach. He has the ability to do that. Same with Rashawn Gary. They should have been cutting his snaps down. I mean, Kingsley Enagbare should be he's their number 1 end right now.
Yeah.
And they kind of have there. I'm with you on Carrington Valentine. I've seen enough missed tackles from that guy to where it just put. I know Nate Hobbs had the knee injury tonight. Put him out there. They have cut Rashawn Gary snaps down though.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
One of the things that really just fascinated me tonight was I don't know why it took until week 17 for another offense and opponent to realize the way to beat this Packers defense is enough with this sideline-to-sideline horizontal crap. Just run it at them.
Yeah.
Because they got figgy pudding inside. That's what they have. And again, I'm at a point of a reason, not an excuse, because when the Packers traded for Micah Parsons 1 week before the regular season, it did not come without risk. Brian Gutekunst understood the gamble, which was they didn't just send 2 first-round picks. They sent Kenny Clark as well, which was a big hit from their depth on the defensive line, especially the interior defensive tackles. Yeah. And he knew that while you want health everywhere on your roster, they absolutely had to have health where they were thinnest, which was their defensive line. And now they've, for weeks now, have played without their 2 best defensive linemen. So you can say they're only 2 guys, but that's a cascading effect from you took in a generational talent and made the counter move of getting weaker with your depth, believing, hoping that you could stay healthy there. They did not. That's partly how this happens.
Yeah, which I do get that point as well. And, yeah, it's still kind of a fascinating dilemma because I guess in order for this to work, even with Parsons out there, even with Wyatt out there, you still needed guys to take a step up in their game. You still needed Kobe Wooden to take another step. You still needed Carl Brooks to take another step. And, you didn't want to rely so much on the Nazir Stackhouses of the world and the Warren Brentons. But there's been times where those guys have played just as hard and done some really good things. So I think that's kind of the biggest issue I think they're running into right now. It's that there was so much on Parsons. It's like if he's not getting to the quarterback, I don't know what we're going to do. If he's not strong in run support, I don't know what we're going to do. And now they're just seeing the issues with that.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Have you noticed play speed, play style, how much slower this defense is just taking Micah Parsons off the field?
Yes.
I mean, it's just an entirely night and day difference in speed. They don't have it. I will say the couple times, it wasn't much because they didn't need to. The couple times the Ravens tried to hit a perimeter run tonight was actually when the Packers defense made some stops. And then they just went back. I mean, the vast majority of the 36 carries for Derrick Henry were power runs. They went back to what worked. But they just don't. It's a much slower defense without Micah Parsons.
Yeah, no question about that. And I even thought about the game-tying touchdown last week in Chicago where it was just a zero blitz and all pressure was coming before he threw it off his back foot. Brenton Cox Jr. almost got there, but I was like, if that's Parsons.
Same with the last play. Quay Walker was just a step away, but he couldn't get there. Micah Parsons doesn't make a big difference in those cases. But I don't think he would have made a big difference today.
No.
I don't think he would have changed anything about Derrick Henry. Somehow, I mean, and I don't really understand how they got beat so badly up front. Somehow you had to get Derrick Henry, stop letting him go downhill. Make him change direction at some point. He never had to change direction. They were pushing off the ball. I would say every single run he had, almost every single run he had, the line had pushed them 2-3 yards off the line of scrimmage, and there was no resistance to it. And I don't know, maybe there isn't. Maybe that isn't coaching. Maybe there's nothing you can do about it. But man, I mean, worse teams than the Packers have slowed down Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
I'm just on that sliding scale, and I don't know how to allocate the blame. I think too often in sports we get black and white. It's either this or this. I don't think it's a this or this thing. I think that both factors are involved here. I don't know how much is one and how much is the other. I do know that coaches and teams can say whatever they want behind a podium, often canned answers and a lot of cliches. They show you what they really think in their actions. Just as Matt LaFleur showed us that he thinks Malik Willis is a starting quarterback because he treated him like one. Look at Brian Gute as soon as that Micah Parsons and Devontae Wyatt injuries happened. I mean, look how many guys he's tried to bring in here immediately because he needs big bodies, because he knows that, boy, that depth is depleted. That's not a coincidence. That's Brian Gutekunst telling you they don't have enough inside. So it doesn't shock me. I don't know that I expected this, but it doesn't shock me that this happens.
Yeah, it doesn't. He's failed. I mean, Brian Gutekunst failed. He Jordan Riley might have been okay. I think that was a little bit of a loss to lose him to the Achilles. But, Bohanna is not a guy. That was something they should have been considering all through the trade deadline, all through, bringing guys in and keep looking at guys and keep rotating the bottom of the roster. Sometimes they get caught up with, liking their own guys, and I don't think he's done a good enough job in that regard.
The problem, and let me know what you think of this, but the problem is those guys just aren't available once the season starts.
Well, there's always someone who's, maybe gets cut or on someone's practice squad. You've done your homework. So if Jordan Riley doesn't work, then you try someone else. If Bohanna doesn't work, then go try someone else. And I just feel like they haven't really done that. That they kind of did it when they absolutely had to instead of being ready for it.
Yeah. So again, that's something that It's a gamble. Every season there's a gamble. GMs gamble, coaches gamble. They thought they would be okay without TJ Slayton, and then you have to make the trade to get Michael for Kenny Clark, but it just backfired.
And Gute deserves blame for the cornerback position too.
Yeah.
He way overestimated
Yeah.
Valentine.
Yeah.
Hobbs is a bust, total bust. And I'd be surprised if he's on the team next year. And Nixon is not a number one corner.
No.
And why haven't they been forcing him to be their kick returner? They stink on kick returns.
Yeah.
They're awful.
Yeah.
And
I can't disagree with any of that, Spoon. I'm totally there with you on
so
that.
that's coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think the corner is more roster machinations, roster management. There's a problem on the back end at corner.
Yeah. That's the key. They just don't have a guy that they can trust to you can put them on an island or just take on that best guy and just make a play. They can't. They don't have
or
a guy.
have a second guy. So if you have Keyshawn Nixon along with another guy, and then who you trust, and then you've got Bullard, that's good enough. It was especially good enough when you had Parsons. But okay, you're not going to always have Parsons. So if you had another guy who was at least, could give you something, or was a starter, legitimate number 2 starter, you'd be in a lot better shape. But Valentine is not that guy.
Keyshawn Nixon's your legitimate number 2 starter.
Yeah,
He's not a number 1, and that's the big problem is that they don't have
Right.
they don't even have another number 2.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You know?
If they had another number
Okay.
2 guy, they'd be in a lot better shape than they are now.
Yeah.
And they're so slow to change things that Kamal Hadden should have been playing a lot earlier
Yeah.
than he was. And he at least brings some toughness to it. He stuck his head in there on Derrick Henry. It
That's
cost
how he got
him.
hurt tackling Derrick
Cost
Henry.
him, but Carrington Valentine's not getting off any blocks to.
He had a chance.
He got bullied
He had a
5
chance
yards
to
when he
tackle
tried.
Derrick Henry. Yeah.
My goodness.
That's right.
Yeah, he had his chance, and you saw how that happened. So,
The most predictable thing that happened all night was that tackle
I
attempt.
know it. That's so true. But I think, that's also part of coaching, right? It's like, was Kamal hadn't that ready at this point? Like, why is he not ready? How are you not able to get him ready yet? Like, how do you not have depth, especially because at the end of the game, they were maybe one more injury away from Bo Melton being the next corner up because, like, you drafted Michael Robinson. I forgot where he's with the Titans.
Yeah.
He's with the Titans. So, you tried to draft a guy. That didn't work out. So, yeah, again, it just mismanagement with the roster. So, again, that's just kind of been the story of this season. Like, you struck gold with Michael Parsons, but with the other things, not so much. So, I do want to talk about the offense as well because, like you said, they scored points. Malik Willis, was able to do his thing. Christian Watson was really big as well. But really, I want to kind of go back to a point we were talking about a minute ago with Matthew Golden because I was kind of fascinated in that conversation. I don't have the numbers, but how many targets? Was it just the 1 target, 1 catch?
No, he had 3 targets for 1 catch, 12 yards.
3 targets for 1 catch. Okay. What
He
about
must have thrown him one.
He did
Yeah,
at the
he
very
did at
end.
the end.
two?
Yeah.
They throw him 1, yeah. And so I guess my question is, like, what about, like, Bo Melton? How many targets did he get?
I agree.
3.
3?
Same number. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Why was Melton on the field for that interception? And that could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know if Golden was on the field at that point.
Yeah.
Wicks was gone. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of
That's a fair point.
that's my thing, especially at this point in the season. Like you guys have kind of alluded to, a fringe playoff team. You're probably not going to have that many more football games left. Is it bad, especially now? You talked about with no Parsons, there's probably no Super Bowl. Is it not a bad thing to start to get an eye on what?
Well, they're
you
in the
could see?
playoffs. They're in the
Fair.
playoffs. So as long as they're in the playoffs, you have a shot. You can't say they don't have a shot. They're not the Detroit Lions right now, just playing out the stretch. And you go to Chicago next week, and anyone's borderline injured, you don't play them because who cares? They don't have anything to gain. they have something to gain. So you got to do whatever you can to put your best product out there.
Fair. I guess that's but my question for him. Like, have we not seen enough throughout this season to go like, okay, there's something to keep building off of?
Oh,
here.
yeah. I mean, Dobbs is playing well. Mm-hmm. Watson is playing terrific.
Yeah.
And Wicks this isn't his year again. Injuries are just taking over his season. Yeah. So Golden should be number 3, and he should be getting more opportunities. You know, the thing you need when you hit the playoffs is a couple of guys who you don't expect to all of a sudden come through. You remember Bo Melton in that 2023 when they go to Minnesota and he gets their first 100-yard, game of the year. That was like a big deal. They were able to sort of add him to the mix. And I think they're making a mistake not highlighting him a little bit more, get him more involved. I don't know. Yeah. I think I have a bigger question, which is, what do you do when your backup quarterback is playing better than your starting quarterback?
It's a good question.
That's a great question.
That's the $55 million question, Spoon.
That's a great question. Who knows? I mean,
we know the answer.
Yeah.
Jordan Love's going to be the starting quarterback, and Malik Willis is probably not going to get any series to play because they should have been doing that much earlier.
Yeah,
much earlier, and they mismanaged that too.
Malik Willis has an athletic gear that Jordan Love does not possess. Right. We've seen him now. He can make every single throw required of an NFL quarterback. There's not a throw that he lacks in his bag. It's a hell of a question, Spoon.
The problem with Malik Willis is injury.
Yep.
Again, it's the same as, the Lamar Jackson issue.
Yeah.
That you have to figure out a way to protect him. But he's going to scramble and he's going to get hit. And he got hit on a sack against the Bears. So it's not like he was out being reckless running. But even, when he's scrambling, he's going to get hit.
It's also not like Jordan Love has been a bastion of durability in his time. Yeah.
But, that's the argument with Willis as to whether he can be a full-time starter is his health. Can he stay that way? But right now, for the Packers, he's playing better than Jordan Love is.
Yeah.
And so you at least have to figure out a way to use him.
It's so interesting. And look, I understand 1,000% LaFleur's answer to your question about that. Like, you don't want to take your franchise quarterback off the field. And, we're not saying Jordan Love has had a bad season.
No.
He's had a good year. But I just think, even like that touchdown throw that Willis threw over the middle to Christian Watson, there's so much of a threat with his running that any play action, any hesitation, like, he can get defenses to bite. So I just think they could have had so much creativity and experiment. Because one thing I know the Packers fans listening to this pod won't like it, but a guy like Ben Johnson, he would probably come up with something crazy. Like, we're going to have, Malik in a slot and have him go in motion and hand it off to him and he throws it. Just something.
No question.
It doesn't mean it would work, but it's some type of experimenting. And that's something that I'm just wondering, I get why you haven't seen it, but again, you've said it too. He's probably one of your best players on offense.
He's one of your best 11.
And he's on the bench in some of those situations when the red zone hasn't been there and, you maybe needed a spark in the run game. So, I don't know. But it's a great question, Spoon.
Where Malik Willis especially helps is where, if Jordan Love has a healthy Josh Jacobs, that's a lot of balance. It's a lot of playmaking. You're in good shape. They haven't had a healthy Josh Jacobs since I can remember, right? Since, New York? He was even banged up before then. Dallas.
He was hurt in Arizona,
He's been injured all season. Yeah. Where Malik Willis helps is that you can have a high firepower game, and Josh Jacobs only gets 4 carries. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine this Packers offense in a game against any defense where Josh Jacobs only has 4 carries and Jordan Love's the quarterback? That's a massive chunk that you're missing there.
Yeah.
You don't miss it with Malik Willis. He can get 9 carries for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground himself.
Yeah, and, the game that was just dying for Malik Willis was the Denver game, when all of a sudden, they're just rushing, they're just teeing off, they can't block. And what's a good way to just slow them down is get Malik Willis in there with some of the play action, and then you can bring Love back in. You've at least shown them some stuff that they have to be aware of. It just as a change of pace, and I don't know, they don't really think about stuff like that.
In a lot of ways, Malik Willis is the litmus test for good and bad when it comes to Matt LaFleur's head coaching acumen. On the one hand, you made the point about, it sounds like a good quarterbacks coach. I mean, good quarterbacks coaches are who gets hired in this league to be head coaches. That's just the way it works. And he is a good quarterbacks coach. If he got fired, can you imagine how quickly the Tennessee Titans raise their hand and say, yeah, come develop Cam Ward? Mm-hmm. And that's just one example.
Right.
He will have a robust market because he knows how to develop quarterbacks. But on the other hand of that, they're going to lose Malik Willis this spring, and they didn't even come close to maximizing what he could have provided for that 7th round pick. That's head coaching too.
Yeah.
That's managing your personnel too.
Yeah.
So there's good and bad there.
Yeah, no question about it. So that it's going to be fascinating to look up, because I have no idea what's going to happen with Malik Willis next year. No idea if he'll end up being a starter, or it's just he battles with somebody for a starting spot at some other team. But it'll be interesting to see if he ends up on a team, and it's going to be crucial the right system.
Yeah, that's
going to be
100% correct.
Because if
that's
it was
where my mind is.
Because if it was like a Kyle Shanahan type system, I think he could thrive in a system like
A Matt LaFleur type system.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're seeing that now. So
Philadelphia system.
Yes.
He could function there.
yes, so
Just like Jalen Hurts.
yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting. If he can find the right system, he might be able to make some things happen. Only time will tell. But at least in the short amount of tape, game film, if you will, from him, he's made a lot of progress over these past 2 years. And because, like you said, you can give credit to coaching there and maybe a knock on some coaching for some of the other guys who haven't elevated their game. But, again, that's something that Willis has done. I guess we can hit on special teams. I mean, they didn't really hurt the team. I don't think they had any penalties.
They fixed their kicking situation.
They're good on kicker.
Brandon McManus hasn't missed a kick in like 6 weeks.
So he's
So
been good
that's
there.
a positive.
Yeah.
Can't say anything about the punter because he keeps not punting and they keep losing anyway.
Yeah.
Their return game is
Non-existent.
That's my thing. Like, they tried everything.
I think we saw tonight why Nate Hobbs had Emmanuel Wilson benched as kick returner, because Nate Hobbs goes out with the knee injury, and then shortly after that, maybe it was his next kickoff return, Emmanuel Wilson looked like he was trying to take a touchback at the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
Like, okay. As soon as I saw that, I was like, well, I get why he's not fielding your option to field kicks anymore.
I don't know what they're going to do there. If it's not going to be Keyshawn Nixon even next year,
Prioritize it.
you have to at this point, because
Savion Williams, they're hoping will stay healthy next year, and maybe he would be the guy.
Prioritize it anyway. Just like there's no rule in the NFL rule book that you can't take back-to-back quarterback sneaks, there's no rule in the NFL rule book when it comes to roster management that you can't have more than one option for a return specialist.
that's true.
They don't prioritize it.
No.
That's true.
That's what happens. That's the reason.
Yeah, I guess they thought McCole Hardman would work out, and he didn't make it.
That's
through.
not prioritizing it
They
either.
didn't,
Yeah.
Why didn't they develop Matthew Golden?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to use him on offense, then why don't you develop him as a punt returner?
That's a great point.
Isn't it just so strange how you finally take a first-round receiver, and then you almost forget that he exists?
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a huge problem with Matthew Golden getting 3 targets tonight, but I think the larger point of they haven't developed him all year is very fair. That's very valid. He's a first-round receiver. You thought enough of him to end a over 2-decade streak of not picking a receiver in the first round. but not enough of him to then really focus and accentuate his development year one. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So you can say they fumbled his rookie season like I just fumbled my notepad. So I guess that's a good time to wrap this thing up.
Just like they fumbled Jordan Morgan's rookie season last year. Right? It's not the first time we've seen this.
Yeah.
Before you wrap this up,
Or Anthony Dalton, you know.
Yeah.
I want to. I don't know where I'm at with Matt LaFleur right now. You guys have any more clarity? I think this is a really tough decision that Ed Policy is going to be facing after this season, which will end with a premature playoff loss. I don't know where I'm at on it.
I don't think. I mean, this didn't help. At least it didn't. It was one of those things like I maybe after Chicago, I'm like he'll still probably be okay. After Baltimore, I don't know. Maybe not as sure about it. Minnesota will be an interesting game as well, and just how they play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think Minnesota's going to say one thing or another
Wild card.
because Clayton Tune may be the starter in that game.
Fair.
I do have a thought, but I'm going to save it for my column on Tuesday, because I think I have a thought about how it's going to play out. But I want to think it through a little bit more. I'll tease it for my column.
Are you leaning toward Matt LaFleur is going to wake up the day after the season with a smile or not?
I'm not saying one way or the other
Okay.
because
It's worth a shot.
There's some machinations that will play a part in it. I don't know. They have to consider next year too that they're a very talented team.
Yep.
And assuming they have Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons back, that makes them a pretty good team. But, on the other hand, you could just say, well, bring somebody new in.
It'll be year 8.
That'll be fine. Ben Johnson in 1 year has taken them to the playoff or won the division with them.
Yeah.
You know what we know about this job if it were to become open? Instantly become as attractive, if not the most attractive job in the league.
Absolutely.
They would have any candidate
Be
they
number
wanted.
one, I think.
I just don't know who that guy is. I think all the good candidates were taken last year.
Yeah.
I don't know who that number one guy is. There's a lot of retreads out there,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't do that.
No. So that's going to be that could be interesting. That's all I'll say.
That's very interesting.
If it gets down to that, right? Because it's a highly attractive job, not only because of the tradition, but because of the present and all the roster spots. So
Yeah, forget the tradition. It's about the present. The present. This team is locked and loaded to go win a Super Bowl.
Yes. So again, that's going to be a question for Ed Policy. This is after 7 years, has he seen enough to think Matt LaFleur is the head coach to lead him to the promised land?
And the reality is that we're going to be talking about this every single week until a decision is made.
Yeah.
That's where they're at.
Yeah. And so, I guess if you, I know he doesn't read social media because if he saw that.
The good news is that you have to decide that right after the season because you can't wait if you're going to go get another guy. Mm-hmm. That you got to be on top of it. So if they can't, they decide they're not going to extend him or, whatever, or they're going to fire him, you got to do that right after the season.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can't hesitate. And you got to make sure you have everything in place. And it's just that's the one thing I know, regardless, even, I don't know, whoever the head coach is or Jeff Halfley or whatever. I mean, the roster is going to look a little bit different next year.
The other thing is everybody's taking Ed Policy at his word that he doesn't want to have a lame duck coach. But he didn't say, I absolutely would never have a lame duck coach.
Fair point. And as murky as it feels right now, and with the value of continuity, which I think is significant, there might be worse ideas.
Give him a year to prove himself. Who knows? Again, God, get ready for the next couple of weeks.
On one hand, I feel like if they avoid the unbelievable plague of contact injuries that have wrecked this season, next year, they're in great shape. On the other hand, I feel like they have left more than enough games that they should have won on the table this season, and they're paying for that late in the season, which is what happens when you leave winnable games on the table.
Yeah.
you can't do that next season. If it's Super Bowl or bust, you got to win the games you're supposed to win, which is most of them, because that's what a Super Bowl or bust roster looks like. That's on Matt LaFleur. So it's tough. I don't know what he does.
Yeah, so I would like to be a fly on the wall in those meetings and in those decisions.
I like to interview head of policy and know what he really thinks. That's what I'd like.
Absolutely. So, like, I see him around, but who knows if he'd ever give you anything on that. But anyways.
Oh, I know. He ain't telling nobody.
Ain't gonna
right
give
now.
you nothing. They'll keep it close to the vest, which not a big surprise. But yeah, we're gonna see what it looks like next week against Minnesota, and we'll get together later on this week for another podcast. And by that time, Spoon, your column will be out, so maybe we can revisit this conversation even more. And
The only thing we're talking about this week.
yeah. Well, yeah, we're still going to have to, we'll be monitoring all
We're not going to be talking about the matchup against the Vikings.
They're
Who've won 4 straight and are probably going to kick the crap out of the Packers.
They're the 7th seed no matter what.
Yeah.
The only thing that is interesting about that, and we'll talk about it more in the week, I'm sure, but Jordan Love did not pass concussion protocol this week. It is the reason he did not play. If he does this week, I think you have no other option but to play him in a meaningless game. You got to get him hot. It's the only prayer you have.
Yeah, gotta
so
get him in a rhythm.
That'll be an interesting decision. And even more interesting than that is that if you do have to play Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs sitting him in Minnesota, I think is a foregone conclusion. Why would you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But Zach Tom sure isn't. That's a tough decision to make because if you're putting Jordan Love out there in a meaningless game, you better protect him the best you can. With that said, Zach Tom needs as much rest as he can get.
I wouldn't be too worried about him. I would sit Christian Watson. I would sit. Well, who else has been banged up?
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
Maybe Evan Williams.
Maybe Evan Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of make a list.
Yeah.
And for
Who should sit?
I'm just saying I got to take some time to marinate on the Zach Tom decision because if you're putting Jordan Love out there, you better give him the best version of protection that you can. But Zach Tom needs all the rest he can get. That is not an easy call.
Yeah.
Don't forget they have some roster stuff they got to do. So Haddon's done for the year. Riley's done for the year.
Yeah.
I don't know about Zane Anderson. He was declared out pretty quickly. So that's like 3 guys, right? Was there anybody else who got hurt?
Well, Wicks had concussion,
Yeah.
and then
You probably don't have to put him on IR.
Did you say Hobbs? Hobbs.
Oh, Hobbs.
Yeah.
So that could be 4 IR guys that you have to replace.
yeah. So it's going to be something.
It's going to be an interesting week.
It's not a pretty picture here.
No,
And actually, a lot of it doesn't have to do anything with the scoreboard tonight. In general, it is not a pretty picture outside of 41-24.
Yeah, which is the final score from, I guess, the final time at Lambeau Field this season. It's
Officially.
officially. After that is Minnesota, and then more than likely Chicago. But yeah, what a way to sign off at Lambeau Field for the Packers. 41-24 against the Baltimore Ravens. Legendary performance from Derrick Henry. This team has some questions to answer before they head to the wild card round of the playoffs. Guys, appreciate it as always. And like I said, we'll regroup here in the next few days and we'll have another podcast and just kind of get another feel for this team as they get ready for taking on the Vikings to close out the regular season. So we thank each and every one of you for checking out the Green 19 podcast. For Ryan Wood, Tom Silverstein, I'm Dominique Yates.